Hello and welcome to Better Together. I'm Tony.
And I'm Kimberly.
And we want to talk to you a little bit today about overcoming disappointment. What do you think? Not excited, huh?
No, I have to say, I think I'm terrible. Not terrible. I can grow in the area of dealing with disappointment. I'm learning
Okay. Well,
how to deal with disappointment.
I think that all of us can get better, and I think we need to be intentional about this. I've got a quote that I want to read. It says, "I'm often disappointed, but rarely surprised." And that quote is from me. And you've probably heard me say it a lot.
I have.
You'll hear me say it. You'll say, "Are you surprised?" And I'll go, "No, I'm not surprised, but I am disappointed. I am disappointed." So one of the keys when it comes to dealing and overcoming disappointment, you're going to say?
Well, no, and I would say, and it's so funny, that you say that, but I would be thinking, man, he's the eternal pessimist, because he is okay to deal with, he expects to be disappointed, but that's not at all how you have been meaning it.
Yeah, it's really not. When your personality, it can have a lot to do with how you deal with disappointment. And you can be a pessimist. If you are a very pessimistic person and your expectation is that people fail, very often people fulfill your expectations. I say it all the time, people find what they're looking for. If you go to a church and you're looking for what's wrong with it, you will find it, and you will probably be part of it. I'm just saying,
Yes.
If you go to a store or you go somewhere and you're looking for bad service, or there's a particular narrative that's negative that's playing, you're going to experience that. If you're an optimist, but that's not always true. Sometimes your perspective doesn't matter when you're dealing with disappointment, because you can't control other people.
Yes, that's true.
So when I say that I'm not surprised, I am disappointed.
Yes.
It's from that premise. It's from the idea that, I'm not surprised because we're all human.
That, yes.
It just, can I mess up? Can you mess up? Yeah.
And that's where I'm learning. So I'm learning about dealing with disappointment, in that we're all human. We are all going to make mistakes. It really is becoming more about how I am interpreting that mistake or mess up. And then I realize, you know what? I mess up too.
Yeah. I think to deal with it, one of the keys to dealing with disappointment or overcoming disappointment is having clear, number one, clear, and number two, reasonable expectations. Now, very often we have clear expectations of ourselves, but we don't have clear expectations, or at least people don't understand the expectations that we have, for them. As a leader, as a pastor, as a Christian, I think it's incredibly important that I articulate to my employees, to my staff, to my family, to my wife, what my expectations are. And I think sometimes we don't. People fail them, and we suffer silently.
And so that's where I can say that I am learning and willing to grow in the area of dealing with disappointment, because I'm learning about having and expecting clear expectations. Not unreasonable,
right?
But I feel like in order for myself and others, you, my children, whomever I come in contact with, I feel like in order for them to be successful, having clear expectations and stuff allows them to flourish, so that they don't have to struggle with dealing with disappointment.
It is. It's like,
I don't think we intentionally want to disappoint.
No, we don't. But I think very often, I have a picture in my office that hangs on the wall. So if you ever find yourself in there for whatever reason, it's got two fences. One is a very well laid, solid built fence, and the other one is a very thin barbed wire. And the picture has kind of fog in it, and it's the idea that clear expectations are like a clear fence, because most people aren't looking, they're not trying to trespass you. They just don't have a clearly defined expectation. I'll give you an example in real life. So you come to me and you say, hey, will you take out the garbage? Or we say to our son, hey, will you take out the garbage? Your expectation is at that moment, hey, you know what, you're going to take it out right now. You know, and because
you should be out taking it right.
Yeah, okay, I asked you to take out the garbage, and 13 seconds later, I didn't hear the door slam. And so what if we, I love what God said to Abraham. He understands humanity so well. If you, God, and we can understand our children. So, you know, and I tell you all the time, give them options or give them clarity. So what if, and just imagine in this, and this is just an example of how clarity or how clear expectations will help when it comes to overcoming disappointment. So what if you were to say, hey, would you take out the garbage? And, you know, the child's response is, yeah, I'll take out the garbage. And you say, well, so when do you think you're going to do that? Oh, Mom, leave me alone. That may be the response, but at the same time, you're
These days that is the response.
Yeah. If you have teenagers, you know that is a response. Anything that you ask them to do is a horrible inconvenience. Well, that's their problem. It's not yours.
Yeah.
You know, so that's when you just don't get upset about it, and you may be, you know, disappointed, but you're not surprised
and
at their
disappointment. And I can't internalize that. Hey, it's not an indictment against me. It's
Yeah.
just, you know what? They're overcoming themselves too.
Yes, but back
Their
to
disappointment too.
Yeah, their disappointment too that you asked them to do something. But back to that point, think about how important that clarity becomes, because all of a sudden you've made clear. So if they say, "Oh, Mom, leave me alone," you say, "Listen, well, here's the thing. I would appreciate it, and if you would take it out before," and then, you know, you lay down that deadline,
Right.
instead of not doing that, not being clear, getting mad at failed expectations, or not knowing how to deal with that hormonal teenager, or that that kid who's not thinking that far ahead.
Right.
Who quite frankly is listening to television or playing a video game or engaged in something. There's been times when you've asked me to do something and I have said, yes, I would do it, but it wasn't on the same timeline.
Right. And that's true. And so I have to recognize that. Like, I've said it, and now I've asked him, and now I have to, hey, guess what? Trust. Or,
Right.
you know, I don't always have to side along the lines of, he's just going to disappoint me.
Right.
Me too. You
Right.
know, part of dealing with disappointment is, hey, I said it, trusting that he'll get it done, and it doesn't have to be, like I said, my timeline.
Right. So how do we deal with disappointment when the expectations are clear? When somebody has given their word, when somebody, when you have those things and you've done what's right, and a person just absolutely blows you up, how do you deal with that?
That is a great question. I don't know. Like, I still feel like, again, I am learning the process of dealing with disappointment. I think in that, and tell me if I'm, you know, along the right vein in this, but I think that how you approach the disappointing topic or whatever
Right.
is just as important. So I think how you approach it, you know, matters.
Right.
The words that you use.
No, absolutely. Well, let me say this. I think one thing that is not right that we often do is we don't address the issue. We don't address the failed expectations, or we don't address the disappointment. And when we do, so number one, we don't address it. That's bad. It's not only bad for you, it's bad for them. It's bad for you because you don't know of which narrative or how to reconcile that. The other thing is you don't have the full picture of why the expectation was failed. So not addressing the disappointment is not the right thing to do. So again, what you just said is huge and key, whether it's with a spouse or whether it's with an employer or an employee or whether it's with your children. Think of it this way. It can become a teaching moment, not just for them, because if you have a proclivity to teach, you know, hey, you know what, let me bring them along, let me teach them. But it may also be a teaching moment for you, Because when you address it, you could learn something about them that you didn't know. You could learn something about your communication skills that are operating from a deficit.
Okay.
You can learn how definitions matter at that point. How many times have we been out of lockstep because of a different context? In other words, a different understanding of what we were talking about, or coming from a different home of origin issue, or coming from a different past experience. It affected directly, and it was just a misunderstanding.
Right.
You don't know that if you don't address the issue. But if you come going, okay, I'm going to humble myself, and this is going to be a teaching moment with this disappointment, it really can lead to a place of growth.
That's good.
Yeah.
I really...
Anything to add?
Well, no.
All right. Well, then we'll
Yeah.
end. Make the most out of every opportunity to grow, I think is what we
Yes.
would say is a takeaway here. Even disappointment can be leveraged into growth. Why? Because we are better together if we don't give up on each other.
Oh, that's good.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like that.
All right.
I would say agree.
Agreed. All right. Thank you for joining us. Please consider liking and sharing, and get back here for the next episode. If you've missed some of the prior episodes, please check those out. Again, like it, share it, subscribe. Leave a comment if there's some topics that you would like us to discuss, or some issues that maybe we could be transparent about. We're willing. We're here to help you grow and become everything God's called you to be, so you can do everything God's called you to do. All right. We'll see you soon.
See you later.